So, moving on to the next topic.
Next up.
The next topic kind of ties in a little bit with some previous topics that we covered, but it might go beyond that. And that is, how can the Switch be successful? So, maybe we should define what success is.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
what is success?
Ooh. Yeah, I don't know. That again,
Well, remember,
it's
the
just
Wii U, like, is it sales? Is it perception?
I think it has to be almost a combination of both of those. Just because, yeah, it can sell great right away, but then once people realize it's a gigantic flop, well, it does you no good. You did well enough to hype it up for people to get your pre-orders sold out and stuff like that. So that part's successful, but if you don't keep that success going and it just turns into a giant flop, which I hope it doesn't, that to me is that's you can't count it as successful.
I think you have a point there, because as we mentioned in an earlier segment, that the PlayStation 4 success, especially for the first year and a half, but even really throughout the console's life, has been about perception. It got all the hype at launch because it was perceived to be the better system than the Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Xbox One came out and said we're costing $500, everything comes with Kinect, here's the specs. They were really confusing with their messaging on what the capabilities were of certain aspects of the system. And every person you talked to gave you a different answer, which just made it worse. And then Sony came out and they're like, $400.
Yep.
Our specs are more powerful
Yep.
than what the Xbox has. Here's how you share games with friends. Grabs a disc, hands it to his buddy. Because that was one of the big controversies with Xbox is, well, everything's tied to the system. Can you share with your friends?
And yeah,
it was really confusing. You can, by the way.
Well, the whole
I don't know if anyone actually knows anything about Xbox, but you can. They just, for some reason back then, had this new idea where you weren't going to be able to, and that wasn't flying very well with consumers.
No, not at all.
Tell me I bought a physical copy of a game and I can't share it with my friend. That's really
right.
stupid.
Yeah.
So Sony basically got their head start because of hype based on potential, based on perception.
Mm-hmm.
They were perceived to be the value console that's more powerful, that is doing everything gamers want, when really, and this is something I thought was really funny back then, and this is the position Nintendo kind of finds themselves in, more comparative to Xbox. Sony basically had a press conference where they said, we're just releasing a more powerful version of the last thing we did.
Yep.
That does everything the same as the last thing we did. Have a good day. And they got hyped. They got all the hype because of it. Because Microsoft came out and said they were going to try something different. And announced a higher price.
Yeah.
And people didn't want that different. They rejected it. And now Xbox has spent this whole time trying to be a PlayStation 4 and then adding more. Like, we have a 4K Blu-ray player. That, why Sony's PlayStation 4 Pro doesn't have that, I have no idea. Yeah. But reality is that, now Xbox One tried to create parity with the PlayStation 4, and Nintendo's in the situation where they're trying a bunch of new things.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks they would be super, super hyped if they just said, we released a box that's the PlayStation 4 Pro with a Nintendo logo on it. We do everything that system did. We're basically creating a more powerful version of what the Wii U was without a screen. That would be what the messaging is. And that worked for Sony. I don't know if that would work for Nintendo as well, but it could. Because a lot of people say that's what they want. So Nintendo's more like Xbox, but we have all this stuff that's different. Everyone's abandoning motion controls beyond virtual reality. No. We're there. We're doing it beyond virtual reality, and we're doing it even better than you've ever seen it. Everyone thinks they know what they're doing with Rumble. You've never seen Rumble like this. And Rumble has never been a thing that's mattered. It's never been a thing that's sold anybody. Like, it's something that's Rumble.
Yeah, no, you're right.
No one really cared if it had Rumble or not.
To be completely honest, barely notice it now.
Like, it
anymore.
was nice to have sometimes, like when you played some shooters, like if a
Yeah.
grenade blew up, you could almost feel what direction it came from based
Yeah.
on what side your controller rumbled.
Yeah.
Like, there are things about it that were nice that we just take for granted these days.
Yeah.
But it's like it's never a selling point.
Right.
It's not
yeah,
like,
no.
oh, you get this because of HD rumble.
Oh, look at my controller rumbles.
Like, those
You
are
do?
everybody else's. What?
Yeah,
Not
right.
like this.
Yeah.
So like they're bringing motion control, but like this is the console that, suffice it to say, is trying to do everything. It's trying to do motion controls. It's trying to have touchscreen gaming since it's confirmed to have a multi-touch screen.
Right.
It's trying to do traditional gaming with the traditional controls and being able to play it on your TV like a traditional console.
Yep.
It's also fully portable, so you can take it with you like a portable game machine. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
not one that fits in your pocket, but one that you're not afraid to take out on a bus and play.
Right. Yep.
They are trying to make this the console that literally does everything.
Yeah.
Because as much as you want to say, oh, the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, they don't literally do everything. The Switch is trying to literally do everything.
Yeah.
And that's a really tough sell. Because no one has ever been really good at everything. Sony and Microsoft are really good at certain aspects,
Yep.
but they're not good at everything.
Right.
Nintendo's always been really good at handhelds, not necessarily with home consoles all the time. Sometimes they've been good with innovation, but they've also ignored traditional gaming. So like they're trying to bring everything together, and it's working so far. The promise is there.
Right.
Whether or not the delivery ends up being there, as I said, the promise was there for asynchronous gaming with the Wii U. The delivery never happened.
Right.
So the promise is there, but like, now what?
Yeah.
So for this thing to be successful, when I define success, the number one thing I look at is sales figures. If something sells well, it's going to get more games. More people are going to keep buying it because if it's selling well, people are probably happy. Outside of launch, if it keeps selling well, like I saw a report today that I think it was GameIndustry.biz is projecting that by the end of 2020, the Nintendo Switch will sell 40 million units. So if you think about that,
Yeah.
we're in 2017, so it's just under 4 years. It was like 3.82 years.
Yep.
They will sell 40 million units. And that is behind PlayStation 4's pace, but that's twice what the Xbox sold basically
Yeah.
so far. Like that's really good numbers.
Yeah.
It's almost 10 million a year. That's
Yeah, but
awesome. Nintendo would be
Nobody.
happy
I don't
with
think
that.
anybody's expecting it to keep up with the PS4.
Well, no. The PS4
So-
is on pace to break the PlayStation 2 records
Yeah.
if they keep it going long
Yeah.
enough. So the thing is like to me that's a massive success. Nintendo coming from a 13 million console to a 40 million in under
Yeah.
in just under 4 years.
Yeah.
I mean the Wii U is just over 4 years and only has 13 million. So that's a huge success.
Oh, yeah.
Is it 3DS levels? No, but they're selling it as a home console first. So
Yeah.
that would be a success. And to get to that success, it needs to do exactly what we were just talking about. It needs to have the perception.
Yep.
Okay? It needs to
it
have
does.
the promise. And right now, I
And it-
think a lot of people like me, we're buying it on the promise.
Right.
Yes, it has Zelda. That's enough. But what's going to prevent us from reselling it to GameStop 6 months later is
After you beat-
promise.
Yeah. You have to come through on that though. Too.
Yes. Well, yeah, that's the thing. You can't just keep promising and not come through. And that's the thing. Nintendo hasn't been coming through. So
right. Yeah. Breath of the Wild is an example of it. I mean, you promise it this year.
promised
Oh,
it
wait,
2015. Nope. Promised
Sorry.
it 2016. Nope.
Nope.
Um,
Let's hope that they stay on their promise of March 3rd.
according to Eiji Aonuma, the game is done.
Okay.
Like they were playing finished versions at all these
Okay.
events. So
Okay.
the copies are being printed. It's being ready to go.
Okay.
It's sitting in a warehouse somewhere waiting for the system to release. I know I hate saying that. I'm like 6 weeks. Just give it to me now.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, I think they just need to deliver, not only deliver on the promises, but make the promises in the first place, and then be able to keep the interest right now. Because right now there's a lot of promise in what the system can do, but now you need to deliver on it.
Yep.
So 1-2 switch is nice, but what's next? What's next for motion controls after 1-2 switch? Where's the promise in that? No More Heroes 3, is that going to use motion controls? Because No More Heroes was a Wii game that used motion controls.
Yep.
Is this taking it to the next level?
Yeah.
Is there going to be a Red Steel 3? Red Steel 2 was amazing. Is there going to be Red Steel 3? Like we need to see some promises for the motion controls. We need to see why HD Rumble is going to matter. And not just matter for motion games,
Yeah.
like 1-2 switch, matter for traditional. As I mentioned, in our live stream before, the idea in Breath of the Wild of diving into the water and being able to feel that rush of water go
Yeah,
by my
right.
hands, like they talked about water pouring into a glass.
Yeah.
If I could feel like water pouring into my things as I'm
Yeah.
diving in,
Yeah.
it's like it feels like my body is
Actually
pouring
diving-
into the
yeah,
water.
Diving into the water, yeah.
That's an amazing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like
for
if
sure.
they could pull that off, I don't know how, if they can, but if they can, like because I don't know if there's restrictions on when it's connected to the system or
Yep.
like maybe maybe they just can't fully do it unless they're but even if I'm holding them separated like this,
Mm-hmm.
if they can do that, that to me takes gaming to another immersion level. And imagine if VR ends up coming true to this.
Yeah.
And so now you're wearing a headset and now you're feeling the things
Yeah.
around you.
Yep. Right. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like the potential is all here.
Right. And this is coming from somebody who
I don't even
is
like VR, but my
yeah.
eyes are like, oh, that's the next. Like that would make me want to try VR.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's always been the thing in VR. Like, oh, but I'm still holding controllers. I'm not really feeling things.
Yep. No, if you
Now
can
I
actually
can
feel
feel-
the water or feel the air rushing by you. Or
Yeah,
something,
like, and I know we're not talking about like there's that technology out there with a screen where it can like feel like carpet and feel like grass.
Yeah.
Like, I know that's not what the HD Rumble is, but there's certain things you could do with HD Rumble to make it feel like that kind of experience. So it's like the ideas are there for that. So I want to see that. Plus, you have a good traditional controls. Okay, so let's see those big AAA traditional control games that everyone else has. So it's kind of get the promise out there, but deliver on it. Right now, there's potential. We need to see continued support for that potential. Whether it's from you or whether it's from third parties, I really don't care.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like Just Dance 2017 probably doesn't take any advantage at all of the improved motion controls.
Probably
I
not.
guarantee it. It doesn't. But that's the kind of thing that takes the next Just Dance game. Is that going to
Right.
be even more accurate? Maybe you could put obstacles in the game when you're dancing, and if I go over and it feels like I hit a wall, is it going to be a thud in my thing? Oh no, I hit a wall, I screwed up.
Yeah. Right.
I don't know. I'm just thinking of
If I
just
punch my
keep-
neighbor, am I actually gonna feel? Oh wait.
Yeah. Yeah, are we gonna start wearing those vests we were talking about
Yeah.
before? You start feeling the impacts of things.
Yeah, right.
No, so I just think it needs to have the like it has promise now. It needs to keep the promise going. It needs to deliver on those promises and keep driving the hype and keep proving that there's still more to do with motion controls. There's still more to do with Rumble. There's still more to do with traditional controls. Like bring things forward because right now the number one selling platform out there is just doing what the PlayStation 3 did. It's doing what the PlayStation 2 did. It's doing what the PlayStation 1 did. It plays music, plays DVDs, plays video games, the traditional style twin stick controls.
Yep.
That is what those systems do. Now there's PlayStation 4 VR, which people think is the next thing, but Nintendo has an opportunity to get into that as well.
Yeah.
Obviously to varying degrees of success based on what it can do.
Yeah.
But it's just everything's in front of them. They have this all-encompassing console, so everything's in front of them. Now they just need to keep delivering on it. And right now, we looked at the game lineup before. I don't see it in the game lineup.
Right.
That scares me.
Yep.
ARMS, I do see ARMS as a nice showcase of moving motion controls forward. I heard there's no HD Rumble in it, so, but whatever. It's another motion control game. But what's next?
Yeah. Right.
So like, you just got to keep seeing it going forward. So that's I think how it can be successful. It needs to continue to prove that they are doing something you cannot get on other systems because you can get all these traditional games along with all the HD Rumble and the motion games and the touchscreen games. You can get everything here, and you can't get that anywhere else.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that's what they need to do to be successful. And whether or not they will, I don't know. Because I thought for sure when they hit with asynchronous gaming, they were going to start taking some of these ideas that people threw out there and be like, look, that's a really damn good idea. Why are we not doing it?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And they didn't. So, like, I think I have a pretty good idea with that, that glass thing, the water thing, maybe not for Breath of the Wild because it was a Wii U game, but in a future game, Mario, Odyssey, you land in some water. Like I'm saying, like, it feels like you have the technology now.
Yeah.
So just do it.